All right, so welcome. Thank you very much for joining us, first of all. Always a pleasure for you guys to make the time to come in to attend one of the webinars. My name is Asif Rahmani. I'm the one on the right here. And I'm also joined with Marshal Butler, who I'll hand off to in just a minute. The main reason we're doing this webinar is to talk about the SharePoint Life-Cycle Training approach. And hopefully this is helpful to you as well. Talking about the two-prong approach of taking the training information that you get in class or online through a class, and then also supplementing that with the information that you can also hand to yourself or your users or your department, your company, within in context and on demand within SharePoint, and continue the support and the training and the help that people need to continue learning and supporting other users. Many of you hopefully are the quote-unquote SharePoint guys or the SharePoint gals who are there for supporting as well as building on SharePoint as well as just doing everything about SharePoint. That's usually the case in many companies. And we want to be able to help you with that. So with that, let me quick intro about myself. Like I said, my name is Asif Rahmani. I'm a SharePoint MVP and also a Microsoft Certified Trainer, principal contributor to SharePointVideos.com, where our motto has been and continues to be to make SharePoint folks successful, providing education and support as needed on our site, SharePointVideos.com, and also now through our product called VisualSP. Marshall, you there?
Hey, Asif.
Hey, so Marshall, if you can introduce yourself as well as Marshall Butler.
Yeah, sure. My name is Marshal Butler. I'm president of Critical Path Training. We launched Critical Path Training back in 2009. It's our desire to be the absolute best SharePoint training available in the industry. All we do is SharePoint training. We don't do any consulting or any software development. We just have a ton of great instructors like Asif Rahmani teaching for us, and we write our own courseware, and like to think that we have the absolute best training in the industry. Along those lines, we know that we cover a lot of material in a week with a class. There's just so much to learn with SharePoint, and that's one of the reasons why we want to partner with Asif Rahmani, is because you can't remember everything that you learn in a class. There's a lot you can learn, but the two-prong approach just makes complete sense. You learn a lot, get some quick hits, some low-hanging fruit in terms of what you learn, and then you get back to the office, and a lot of the stuff that you may have learned but didn't quite retain completely, it's all contextually there within your SharePoint ribbon. And so I think that's why this two-prong approach is a great idea, and happy to be partnering with VisualSP on this.
Thank you, Marshall. Awesome. All right, guys, so we talked about ourselves. It's your turn. So here's one question we want to ask you first to get started. What role do you play in your company? We want to understand who the audience is. It really helps us to understand how to cater to you. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a poll to help us determine that by you giving us the answers. So if you can put that down, I'd really appreciate it. All right. Had a really strong feeling this would happen. We talked about this, right, Marshall? I'll show you the polls also. That a lot of people are saying that they are the SharePoint guy, gal. There's no real other way to put it, honestly. Let me give it a few more seconds, and I'm going to show the poll to everybody. About 85% of the people have already voted. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to close it, and then show it.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah. So 57% are saying they're the SharePoint guy or the gal. Yeah, that automatically happens a lot. There's no other way to really categorize that person who's really in charge of everything, within the SharePoint platform. Of course, then you're supposed to do other things on the side as well, somehow magically. I don't know how. But okay, so thanks a lot. Really appreciate that. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the reasons for holding this webinar. We want to make you the SharePoint hero, the SharePoint guy, the SharePoint gal. We want you to be successful, okay? Yes, it is true that we are going to be telling you about our products. Yes, it is true that it does require money to purchase those products. I want to be out open and talk about this thing right now. But you know what? At the end of the day, our companies exist for this particular reason, for educating and supporting the SharePoint users. Otherwise, there would be no point for our existence. So there is a very honest truth that companies, and it still amazes me that companies spend so much money acquiring the licenses for SharePoint. Sometimes it's hundreds of thousands, sometimes it's even millions. And they're not really realizing the true value of the SharePoint investment. Also, the leadership approval and sponsorship from at least a few executives, at least one executive, is critical for the SharePoint initiatives, any kind of initiative within SharePoint, to be successful. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. At the end of the day, end users are the ones who are using the product. You want to make sure that they have the help, the support they need in terms of training, in terms of before, during, and after, doing their processes, so they understand where they're going and what they're doing and why they're doing it. Extremely important. And of course, we want you to, meanwhile, advance as well in your career and your aspirations. A lot of the people that I meet at conferences, for example, when I present at conferences or trainings and stuff like that, are people who want to become better and better and better at SharePoint. They want to understand what opportunities exist and how they can make themselves better and how they can help their company even achieve more things. So we want to try to accomplish these things through our services, and we just don't want to tell you about those services here. And here we go. So first thing, or I should say second thing, second poll over here that we want to take is about your SharePoint version. If you can also help us determine this thing, this would be extremely helpful. What version of SharePoint are you using? 2010, 2013, Office 365, which is SharePoint Online, or SharePoint version 2003 or 2001, or one of those from the dark ages. They were great versions at that time too, don't get me wrong. For that point in time, they were pretty awesome. Of course, now it seems kind of archaic though. All right, let me close the polls in just a couple of seconds here. And close. And then share with you guys. Always good to see who you're in the room with as well, right? Okay. So a lot of folks with SharePoint 2010, and that's the reality. A lot of folks still are running SharePoint 2010. SharePoint 2013 is where folks are looking to move to. They have questions, they have thoughts about the cloud and exactly what kind of a hybrid situation we could be getting into. What is Microsoft recommending? How long are they going to support the on-premise? And all those things are extremely good questions to have. And we could definitely talk about those things at a later time. Right now, of course, we're not going to focus on that. But anyway, getting back to the presentation over here, what to expect from this webinar? Well, we want to show you some of the two-pronged approach that we talked about, which is training from critical path training, training for all different types of users, etc., and then also pairing that up with VisualSP, which is after the class is done, how do you keep yourself, your other users, and everybody else motivated by in-context and on-demand support and help, which people need to go forward. So we're going to talk about that. We'll definitely have good tips and pointers on free resources, critical path training, SharePointVideos.com. Since the beginning of these companies, we've always been very focused on SharePoint community, which is one of the best communities, by the way. I can say that guaranteed in the world. And for that, we all offer some great resources, if you don't mind me saying so myself, then we want to share that with you. Also, for your time being with us today, we want to offer some Raffle Prizes. They'll be awarded throughout the webinars. It can be a class. There's a couple of subscriptions to the site, etc. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And the last thing, questions, suggestions, and also, of course, participations in the poll, which you're already doing. Thank you very much for that. Is extremely welcomed and appreciated. So keep that coming. Thank you very much. Regarding the Raffle Prizes, here's what we're going to do. At SharePointVideos.com, which is this right here, right? We have 830 plus tutorials already there, and we'll be giving a year membership to that site. And that's actually, we're going to be giving 2 of those. Each of them is going to be a value of about $200 each. And at Critical Path Training, I'll let Marshall talk about this offer, this award.
Yeah, sure. So it's a seat in any one of our Critical Path Training webcasts coming up between now and December 31st. We offer SharePoint training for developers, for IT pro admins, for end users, no-code developers, web designers. Pretty much have a class for every single SharePoint role. And if you were the lucky winner of this webcast seat, we will register you for any one of those classes between now and December 31st. Lots to choose from, and it's a $1,500 value. So good luck.
Awesome. So here's the deal. To enhance your chance to win, here's what we'll request with you. We're doing this whole webinar to talk to you, and interaction questions are extremely appreciated. So please have them coming in through the Q&A, and we'll respond to those things. We'll have a discussion, and also if you can go to Twitter, and if there's any pointers that you want to point out on Twitter about the webinar, use a CPT SPV hashtag, and we'll be looking at that tweet stream as well and picking a winner from there. So once again, this is not just us talking the whole time. Hopefully, we would love to have a conversation with you, two-way. So help us out with that. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what you're confused about, and we'll go from there. So here's another question. SharePoint has been out for a really long time, right? SharePoint 2001. Even before that, there was Visual Dashboard and other stuff. Why is still it's not gaining traction in some companies? Why is it coming across as a file dump, or as just a place where people do some things but not everything? What is it that's holding you back? What is it that it's holding your company back? So here's the question out to you in a poll. What do you guys think? This is something that truly has been bothered me personally as a trainer and a consultant and a speaker and author on specifically SharePoint for more than a decade right now. That I think of SharePoint as this huge jumbo jet that Microsoft has designed. So many things you can do, so many different places you can go in there. And companies don't. They just look at it as one small thing. Oh, this is great for our dashboarding. Oh, this is great for document management. But then that's it. And it just becomes a dump for all those things and nothing else. So understanding exactly what you think is a problem it helps us as well. The kind of stuff that I'm seeing, and I'm going to close a poll here, is very much the same stuff that I've been hearing for a decade now. Yeah, the lack of adoption from users still continues to be number one thing. How do I go to do what within this thing called SharePoint? I got my job that I have to do. Why do I care about SharePoint? Why do you want me to care about SharePoint, Mr. SharePoint Guy or Miss SharePoint Gal? Why should I care? That's always the question. And, it's confusing. Help me out here. So hopefully with the stuff that we're talking about here, these kind of questions, these kind of challenges, get mitigated. Let's see. Let's move on over here. I'm going to give you a few seconds over here to read this, and then I think Marshall has a good explanation of that.
Absolutely. Well, I feel very comfortable making fun of salespeople since I am one, and and there's always a Dilbert for every occasion. It's kind of like a Hallmark card. You can always find a Dilbert that relates to something that you're talking about. And like Asif mentioned earlier, folks spend lots and lots and lots and lots of money on SharePoint licensing. And it's a great tool. There's lots that it can do. But, and to use the cliche, sometimes you can be penny wise and pound foolish. And, you need to prepare people to succeed. You need to make sure that they have the tools to do their job. And you don't want to set them up for failure. I think for the most part, although Asif and I were discussing there are notable exceptions, for the most part, people want to do a good job. People want to work hard. They want to find good ways to do their job. And they want to excel and succeed. And I think that too often there just aren't the tools in place or the training in place to help people get the resources they need to make themselves successful, to make their companies successful, and like what we're talking about here is to make SharePoint adoption and use successful within an organization. So it's always funny, the sales guy holding up the black rectangular thingy.
Yeah, absolutely. you know what we want to do is let's go ahead and pick our first winner over here. What do you say? You know, we talked about it. Let's go ahead and do it. We want to have these 3 prizes given out. So we're going to do one right now, one in the middle, and one at the end. Okay.
Sure.
And first, we'll go ahead and do the first one for the SharePointVideos.com subscription. So I'm going to pick one from the Q&A. As we said before, that if you interact with the Q&A, we'll get you something from there. So the first one here is going to be a lady named Ritu Kumar, R-I-T-U, and then K-U-M-A-R. So if you could reach out to us, I'm going to go ahead and send an email address over here. You can just email this address. Yeah, that's my email address, and then we'll set you up. Thank you, Rita, for being here. All right. Let's continue. Okay, so what is this full lifecycle training that we're talking about? What I would like to do is present you with an actual scenario of something that happens all the time. You know, you have a business need. Whether that need could be, I want to understand how to make my SharePoint sites beautiful, and I'm a design person, so you go to design or branding training. Or I want to understand how to administer SharePoint, how to scale it out, how to use the central administration to its fullest capability to back up and everything that I need to do. Well, I need to understand that. I'm going to go to training. So after the business need gets determined, training, of course, is always the first thing, and that's where critical path training comes in. As Marshall has said, I've done critical path training for many years myself. There's plenty of awesome instructors at critical path training doing all kinds of training, and I'll let Marshall talk about this a little bit later, of the different kinds of training available. After the training class is over, what do you do? Well, that's where SharePoint Videos comes in with the on-demand support. Here we go. The product called VisualSP is more of it's a platform on top of a platform. So VisualSP goes on top of SharePoint almost as a plugin, but a whole lot more to provide users a help tab. You know, it says this everywhere they go, help. And when the help tab is there, you click on the help, you get the information that you need when you need it. And we, of course, provide a lot of help along with the product, but then you can also provide your own help. And it could be videos, it could be documents, it could be screenshots, whatever you want it to be. So we want to talk about this whole full life cycle approach. Here we go, some information about it. We're going to show you some of these things as well. Okay, and that's what we're going to do the rest of the time. So Marshall, I'm going to first hand it over to you to talk about critical path training.
Sure. If you don't mind, toss over the screen, and I'll give folks a quick little tour of some of the offerings that we have at Critical Path Training. Let's see.
You have it now?
And here it comes. So there we go. All right. Does that show?
Here we go. Yep,
Yeah.
I can see it now.
Okay. So the Critical Path Training website. Here we are. Just real quickly, I want to show you some of the courses that we have. As Asif mentioned, we have classes for every single role, whether you're a developer, a no-code developer, IT pro or an admin, web designer, business analyst, or end user. We have classes for everyone in every role. If you click in and take a look at some of the training, like for our professional developers, we have complete comparison charts that show what's in the various classes. We offer hands-on classes as well as webcast versions of our classes. We also have something called remote classroom instruction. So if you cannot attend a class in person, but you still want to participate, we now have a virtual offering for you. All of our classes in Tampa and plus one on the West Coast coming up, you'll be able to access through remotely and participate in a hands-on class. We set up everything for you, including the machine that you do your labs on. And then, Asa talked about instructors, and just wanted to kind of give a shout out to a bunch of our instructors. These are the folks you know and trust, the folks from the community. There's Asif right there. A bunch of SharePoint MVPs, a bunch of folks that speak at the conferences and do the blogs and the white papers and the books and stuff like that. So, we're rooted in the community. We want folks to succeed with SharePoint, and we provide the resources to make sure you do that. One good example, and Asif and I were talking about this, is a class recently where an organization, a consulting company, needed some help with some end-user training, very specific need around some stuff that they were doing internally, and needed end-user training, and also had a couple of no-code concepts that they wanted us to kind of teach their folks how to use some no-code techniques to build some custom solutions. And so Asif went in there and delivered a class, a private class. We were able to personalize that delivery specifically to that organization and meet their needs, kind of get to know the project that they're working on, and kind of tie that all back into the presentation and make it, again, contextually relevant as we're discussing going through the different modules of the class. And so just a great example of how training, how we can provide the training, we can personalize the training to your specific needs, your specific organization's needs. But the great thing is after the training is over, these folks are now going to have VisualSP, and they're going to have a two-pronged approach where some of the concepts that Asif presented, like we said, we cover so much material, a lot of times you just can't retain all that information. You need a little bit of a mental reminder, some sort of a memory jogger, and now it's going to be available within the ribbon of their intranet. So Asif, I'll hand that off to you, and you can kind of talk a little bit more about that specific engagement.
Yeah. So this is always an issue, right? I learned something, and there's actually statistics around that as well. That how long are you able to retain knowledge that you've learned visually, that you've learned hands-on, that you've learned just audibly, and even with the hands-on stuff, if I don't use it, I lose it in a certain amount of time, and it depends on who. For me, for example, I don't have that good memory. If I don't use it within the next a month or so, I'm going to start losing it very swiftly. So that's where VisualSP comes into play, and you are given the same type of material that comes from Critical Path Training, that comes from classes, and in addition, some other supplemental material that comes from SharePoint videos, and it's completely tied in directly within the SharePoint platform. One thing that I hear also from users again and again is, I don't want to leave the SharePoint environment because I don't know exactly where to go. Or if there are people who are motivated to go, they will go to YouTube or other places and find whatever they will find. It may or may not be best practices. It may or may not be something that their company wants them to use. So to avoid all that stuff is where VisualSP comes to play. So Marshall, do you want me to take over and continue here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So let me go ahead and take this back here. Screen, and hopefully you can see my screen again. I guess this is also something that Marshall wanted to point out. Right? Maybe I'll go ahead and point this out, that as far as the training goes, these are some of the stuff that people have said about Critical Path Training. Don't expect you to read out all of it. We're going to make this slide presentation available later as well. But they're great classes. They're, people really like classes. What happens after the class is the following, the part 2 in the life cycle approach. And that is the in-context support that we provide through VisualSP. And let me just show it to you because, of course, seeing is the major part of it. Here's the Help tab, right? You have the Help tab that shows up magically as a user, and that gives you the information that you need. It could be things like images, quick reference guides, and tip sheets and stuff like that. Or it could be documents, right? Or it could be something else like a video, etc. And it's available for SharePoint 2010. It's available for SharePoint 2013. There's even an app for that for SharePoint Online. Right now we're going to focus on the farm features, the farm solutions, but there's an app for that as well. Just want to point that out. And out of the box with VisualSP, you get a bunch of different videos. You also get a bunch of different help documents and screenshots directly to put in here as well. So this, for example, is, oops, here we go. This is a screenshot. This itself is a reference document. Not everybody loves videos. I do personally, but I'm biased. But if a user is more accustomed to understanding things by reading a document, that's there as well. And this whole product gets put in there, and it becomes basically your sidekick. Let me see if I can show this to you quickly here. So here it is, right? You imagine you yourself, let's say if you have come from a end user class, let's put yourself in that shoe. And now you're wondering, well, I'm looking at this site and this site has been provided to me. I've been told that I need to manage this page. I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to do with it. Well, so you're looking at your site, you look at Help tab, and here's editing a web page. Click on that, and you see exactly how to edit a web page. Fairly simple, right? There's a video for that. This one is hosted directly within SharePoint, but it could be hosted outside. Fully narrated, by the way. Or maybe I'm more of a visual learner in terms of just tip sheets and stuff, not videos. Well, there's a page quick reference. I click on that, and I see the quick reference of exactly what I need to see. What is all the stuff on the page? Where's the text editing options? Where is the document library? Aha. And all the stuff can be changed, of course, by the SharePoint administrator, so they can go ahead and say, you know what, no, this is very much plain vanilla of how SharePoint looks by default. We want to provide our own branding. So you can go ahead and replace the screenshot with that. So wherever you go, right now we're at the page level, but if you go into document library, you get stuff for document library in the Help tab. Coming up in just a second. You go into calendar, you go into announcement, you go into wherever, you're going to see information about that. Come on, SharePoint 2013, don't be stalling me today. Maybe I'll go somewhere else over here. Okay, let's see if I can pull this up here. Here we go, document library. So I go documents, and I go to Help tab, and here we go, document library quick reference. Right? Checking in a document. Show me the video for that. I want to understand what checking in means and how do I do it. And of course you can make that full screen, all that good stuff. And information could be coming from, as I said, within the product, within SharePoint. It could be coming from outside. It could even be a YouTube video. And there's, of course, many, many more features, but I'm not going to go too deep into the features at this point. If you would like to understand more about this, let us know, and we can set something up for you. But, you know, then the life cycle continues, and later you have a need to, once again, look for a class, look for some information, information about the class. There's actually a link for that as well. So this, in particular, is actually a link to all the Critical Path Training classes that are coming up. Schedule. This is a live link going now to Critical Path Training site, and it shows the upcoming classes. Right? A user is directed directly exactly where they need to go, what they need to see, and not have other stuff that's just cluttering and distracting them and taking them away from what you want them to do. And that's the whole point of this product. Instead of having them go anywhere, everything is built in. And all that stuff is configurable. Let me just quickly show you that as well. Within the site collection, there's the VisualSP help items. And you go into the VisualSP help items, and all the help items should be there. Here we go. All the different help documents, the different links. There's a link on there, help documents, videos, etc. And you can just go into any of them to change it around if needed. But anyway, the whole point here being that you get the help that you need in context, right? Oh, actually, one more thing that I wanted to show. So if you have gone to a branding class or something, there's tutorials for that as well. There we go. And you go into administration classes, there's tutorials for that. There's stuff for everything. And in this one, it's actually being served from something else that ships with the product called the VisualSP web part. It's also part of that. So instead of help, you have additional links which are in body of the product. All right. So let me get back here now. Same thing with the product itself, just like Critical Path Training's actual training. You know, this product has been proven out in the market. Folks love it. We have some awesome testimonials thanks to these folks, and then many, many, many more. And if you want to learn more about it, let us know. So moving on now from the lifecycle approach a little bit, and we'll come back to that also, but some of the also free resources we want to talk about that we promised you as well. There's a offer here until May 31st, 2014 for getting free access to SharePointvideos.com. That's the parent site for VisualSP. And as I mentioned before, there's lots of tutorials there. This is available to everybody, to all of you guys. So if you want to take advantage of that, go for it. The other thing, the raffle is separate. That's for the whole year. This is for 30 days. Okay. And Marshall, I think, also had something that you want to talk about the members area for critical path training, right? There's lots of good stuff available there.
Yeah, sure. So if folks visit the Critical Path Training website, there's a member section. And in that member section, there's just a ton of resources that our guys have created through speaking at community events like SharePoint Saturdays or SharePoint conferences, white papers, code samples, slide decks, just a whole bunch of resources. One of the most popular resources in that section is a complete virtual machine build guide that has all of the links to all the freeware and all the software that you need to build your very own SharePoint virtual machine. It's recognized in the industry as probably one of the best VM build guides that's out there. There's also, on every one of our instructor pages, you'll find their Twitter handle and their blog address. And so it's a great way to follow a lot of the industry leaders, a lot of the SharePoint experts, follow their Twitter streams, go to their blogs, see their RSS feeds, learn more about what they have available. And then we've got all the SharePoint conference videos that all of our guys presented a couple weeks ago in Las Vegas. They're all linked on our website as well. And Critical Path Training was second only to Microsoft at the SharePoint conference in terms of number of speakers that were presenting sessions. We had about 12 guys presenting stuff at the SharePoint conference, and all those videos are linked on our website. So tons and tons and tons of free resources on our website.
And you know, one thing we had also mentioned is that we're going to go and take some questions off of the Q&A. So let me go ahead and do that before I go further here, Marshall. Somebody's here asking about the training, and they're asking that does Critical Path Training offers trainings that are more customized based on the company's branding or their use of SharePoint, example, company intranet versus more generic SharePoint?
Yeah, sure. So that's one of the great benefits of a private class is it allows us to personalize the delivery based on your organization and maybe your organization's specific use of SharePoint. We don't write any new content when we do a private on-site. There's just so much work involved in creating great content and great training material. But what we can do is typically the week before a session, we will have a conference call between the instructor and your stakeholders and get to know what it is that your company is doing, how you're using SharePoint. And we try to, like I said, personalize the delivery so it's very specific to your needs, your use of SharePoint. We do provide a virtual machine when we come on site to do the training for you to do the labs. You don't have to use our virtual machine. If you wanted to use your own SharePoint environment to do the labs, you're absolutely welcome to do that. Some things in the labs might not completely match up with what you see on the screen. There might be some differences, but that's certainly an option that companies have when we come on site is to do the labs within their own SharePoint implementation.
Cool. And you know, by the way, here's a coincidence, Marshall, that the person who asked this question, Nicole, is also our second winner. So actually, she's a winner for the, if you're okay with that, Marshall, this is the winner for Critical Path Training's webcast.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations, Nicole. Yeah.
Nicole participated in the Q&A and also in Twitter as well. So thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, we will we'll get your contact info and make sure we register you for one of our classes coming up. And you'll get to try firsthand Critical Path Training and try it out.
All right. Nicole. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying something, Marshall. So I was just going to say that, Nicole, there's an email address that I'm going to put up the next slide for Marshall. Please use that email address to contact him for that. Another question here out there is from Isabel. What is the maintenance plan for these items? Are they always put up to date during the year? Is there additional videos being posted throughout the year? This question is for me. This is about VisualSP. So yes, there is a maintenance plan that we offer. It starts from year 2 and beyond. In the first year, all the product upgrades, all the any support that people need, and all the content that we put out there, and we do put out content quarterly. Everything you get as part of the first year after the purchase. After that, there's a maintenance plan, which is 25% of the product fee, and that actually gives you all the upgrades, even the next version of SharePoint that comes with it, any content, everything you get with it. So, Marshall, what I'm going to do also is put up the next slide over here, which is actually our last slide, guys. But then I would love to continue this conversation and take your questions, and then also do the raffle for the last thing as well. So here we go. Here's what we recommend. You can start making use of these free resources that we provided right away. Contact us to discuss how and if we can help with your needs specifically. If you have a limited budget, even at the time, we can help you with what is appropriate for you, and then we'll go from there. So here's our email addresses. Let's go ahead and continue to take some questions also here. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think you saw my screen before. Now you should be able to see my screen. Here's information. Okay. So question out there by, who's this person over here? By Karen. Okay, so this is actually about the conference that's coming up. Where will you be at SB TechCon so I can stop by? At SB TechCon, we're going to have a booth at SharePoint Videos. We're going to have a booth at SB TechCon, so that's booth number 607. Definitely stop by there. It's going to be hard to miss. It's not a huge floor over there. Thanks very much, Karen, for putting out that question. Marshall, is there going to be presence at SB TechCon from Critical Path Training, aside from me?
Yeah, no, we will not be at SB TechCon, but we will be at SharePoint Intersection in a couple of weeks down in Orlando. And I know we have a ton of folks from Critical Path Training. A lot of the instructors will be presenting and doing sessions, but we will not have a booth there.
Okay. Marshall, this is a question for you. Does one need to have prior knowledge of Windows Server before taking the training through CPT? That's asked by Soma Sundaram.
The only time you need to have prior knowledge of Windows Server is if you're going to be taking one of our administrator classes. We typically ask that people have some prior knowledge if they're taking a class like our SharePoint 2013 Administrator Survival Camp.
Okay. Cool.
But all other products, no.
So another one for you also by Karen here. How many people do you need to have a private SharePoint class?
Yeah, sure. So the ideal size for a private class is anywhere from 8 to 10 minimum. And then the way we do our pricing, it's very, very easy, no surprises, and the larger the class, the greater the savings. Once we have that kind of critical mass of 8 to 10 folks, we can pass on tremendous savings for larger classes. And so, but the ideal is somewhere around 8 to 10 students.
Awesome. Great. Let's see. There's something here for me. Stacy is asking a question here. Ooh, just lost it. 1 second. Okay, here we go. I manage 2 site collections for my organization. I am not an IT person and have a difficult time trying to find courses that lie between the power user, site owner, and site collection administration stuff. And I'll take that on because that's something that I focused on for an extremely long time. That is a very, very difficult place and an awesome place to be at the same time. You're a power user because either you've, the way I like to call it is that you're an enlightened end user, or you are a person who have found a faster and better way of doing things and you used to be a developer and you end up in the power user category. That's me, the second version, the second part of it. That's how I ended up with the power user thing. There's definitely information on Critical Path Training about the end user / power user classes. There's a combined one that Marshall can do also for organization. It would be, of course, great to take both of those classes separately, end user and power user, but it can be combined as well. Power user and / no-code developer is such a great area because it really opens up your eyes to all the different awesome things you can do without doing any coding whatsoever, and still have it make it look and feel like it's done with code. For example, the dashboarding thing, the search results pre-configured, having on a website, sometimes people go to and they see what they need to see, all live and delivered with search. With reporting services, so much you can do with that. There's so many different scenarios that you can find with that, and I would definitely encourage you to look for the classes related to that critical path training and also the free videos available on those kind of topics at SharePointVideos.com. Drop me a line also, and I can send you pointers to that if you'd like, Stacy.
Yeah, Asif, if I could jump in.
Yeah.
Regarding the classes at Critical Path Training, I guess the learning path that we have starts out with a 2-day SharePoint for business users, and that's you've never seen SharePoint before in your life, and you need to learn how to log in, just kind of the basic navigation of SharePoint, some basic skills. On top of that, we add another 2-day class, which is SharePoint for site administrators, which has some more advanced topics. Now you're familiar with SharePoint, how do you administer site content, some security, stuff like that. And then right after that, typically the way we see it is folks move on to that no-code class, and that's for those power users that now want to build custom solutions using either the browser or SharePoint Designer. And it's a very logical path that people take from seeing SharePoint for the first time all the way to building those custom solutions without having to crack open Visual Studio. Now, some people get a little crazy and go all the way and want to learn some code, but for the most part, we have a very logical training path for you.
Absolutely. All right, here's another one by, I hope I'm mispronouncing it, Aja or Aja. Do you provide tutorials that companies can purchase to share or download to share internally? That goes for SharePoint videos. So yes, we do. We have lots of tutorials actually on all different things, SharePoint, that you can get for your company on branding, reporting services, access services, administration, development, you name it. We have different packages for all different things. And many of them are, they're kind of like supplemental knowledge relating to the stuff that you learn in class. So, folks who do these kinds of trainings and classes are the same type of folks who have recorded these video tutorials that you can purchase and have available afterwards, either through VisualSP or even standalone if you wanted to serve it to users. Okay. All right. Well, I would like to go ahead and do, you know what, actually we're still waiting for the name for that one. Okay, I was going to do the last raffle, but actually I'm waiting for one more person. For actually our person who is helping us out on the back end to identify a person. So I'll wait for that. What subscription options are available for Teams? Amy is asking. Amy, if you go to the SharePointVideos.com site and look for multi-user subscriptions, that's under the business tab, I believe. You're going to find the multi-user subscriptions and also the group subscriptions to the site of the 830 plus videos. So that might be helpful. Okay, let's see. There's a question out there which actually I don't know exactly what this means. At any chance you all take SATVs for your courses? My training budget consists of only these vouchers. So I'm assuming, Stephanie, you're asking about the vouchers that come with purchase of SharePoint. Marshall, are you familiar with?
Yeah, sure. That's software assurance training vouchers.
And okay.
Unfortunately, Critical Path Training cannot accept those. The reason is because those vouchers can only be used by materials that are in the Microsoft official curriculum or the MOOC. We write our own courseware, and we do not publish our courseware through the Microsoft library, and so that, as a result, prevents us from taking those vouchers. Wish we could, but those vouchers are good for companies that teach a lot of different technologies that have a lot of different types of instructors. Because we're a boutique shop that focuses 100% on SharePoint, it just doesn't work for our business model, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Marshall, there's actually a name out there in the chat. If you want to look at that, announce that name for raffle while I go ahead and take another question.
All right. Well, the winner of the last subscription for SharePoint videos is, can we get a drum roll, Kathy Link.
Woo.
Kathy is the big winner, and so please reach out to Asif, and he'll set you up with your annual subscription. So congratulations, and thank you for participating.
All right. All right. Well, we want to be respectful of your time, and it's supposed to be a 45 minutes webinar initially. If you guys want to hang around and ask more questions, absolutely, please do so. Otherwise, our emails are there, so you can go ahead and reach out to us through email as well. But once again, I just want to close out officially saying thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure for you to spend your time being here with us. Marshall, I'm going to go ahead and, for the people who are still here, I'll look at the questions, see if it makes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll stick around and answer any questions. But again, certainly want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their day to participate in this and listen to us present the new two-prong approach for life cycle training, and the way that we can help both with hands-on training and then after the fact with contextual help built into the ribbon. So thanks, everyone, for your time.
All right, here's a question from Rick, and this is about VisualSP specifically. Did you say the maintenance plans in year 2 and beyond includes an upgrade from VisualSP 2010 to VisualSP 2013? Yes, if you're within the maintenance plan window and you've upgraded to the next version of SharePoint, absolutely you get the VisualSP product for that as well. It is, you can only use one VisualSP product at a time in the production environment, but yes, if you're already gone to the next one, you can definitely get that. No additional charge for that. Rachana is saying, thank you very much for having this presentation. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Rachana, and everybody else for being part of the presentation. Thank you. Let's see. Who else is over here? Is it possible to create a custom lab in the class for a challenge we face in the SharePoint development? Marshall?
Custom labs, you know, it is possible. We can discuss that. Recently, we had another customer that had a very specific need around access services, and so we were able to build something out for them. And it just, you know, it depends on the situation and the complexity of the lab, I guess. But certainly something that we could discuss and possibly facilitate for you.
Awesome. Are there any discounted rates for government subscriptions? Natasha is asking, I think you're talking about subscriptions on the site for SharePoint videos. Yes, there is actually. This is not for the yearly one, though. I shouldn't say it's not your yearly one. It's not for individual subscription. It is there for multi-user subscriptions and group subscriptions and beyond. So there's a 10% off for government discount. Government, education institutions, and that's it, I believe. And not nonprofit, of course. Marshall, are there any discounts for training?
Yeah, you bet. Glad you asked. We do offer discounts. We do a lot of discounting through early bird registrations. So the farther out that you register, the more you can save. If you register 90 days or more before class starts, you can save up to 30% on one of our classes. If you're 60 days out, you save 20%, and if you register more than 30 days out, you can save 10%. So 10%, 20%, 30% really adds up fast. We also have group discounts. So if you have 2 or more folks, we can save you some money. And we also have educational and governmental discounts. Unfortunately, these discounts don't stack, so you can pick one, but not them all.
Okay. Here's a question about VisualSP here, talking about when you have stuff on the Help tab, am I the only one who's seeing it, or is everybody else seeing it? So yes, actually, it is for everybody, but you can security trim the actual help items, so the people who you want to see certain things, they see it, and not everybody else. It's all security trimmable, if that's even a word, and also context sensitive. So it depends on where you are or where other people are. They see the stuff that they need to see at that point in time, not everything. Let's take one more over here, and then I think we should get going. Let's see. You provide Oh, I'm sorry, I already took this one. Let's see. What level would training, I'm not sure if this is worded properly, but it says, what level would training to use the 2013 search bits? Example, creating these cool search space displays that may be decorated with out of the box CSS and HTML. Do you want me to take that, Marshall?
I'm sorry, what was the question again? I missed
Yeah,
it.
the question I don't think is worded properly here, but I think I understand it. It's talking about what training they can take, which would have a search and also CSS and HTML based type of cool displays you can build. You know.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, we absolutely have a SharePoint brand camp. So if you're responsible for making SharePoint not look like SharePoint, we definitely cover that with our brand camp, which covers publishing and stuff like that. We also do cover search. We cover search in our developer class. We have it in our no-code developer class, and also in our admin class. I think we might even cover a little bit of search in the end-user class.
Yes, we covered that in the no-code solutions class. I'm not sure about the end-user one. The no-code solutions for sure, we covered that in there.
Yep, it's module 11 in the end-user class. I thought it was in there.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, yeah, so we cover search pretty much in everything we do.
Cool.
It's a pretty big part of SharePoint, so we don't leave it out.
All right, here's one actually that I'm seeing through chat over here, so I'm going to go ahead and take that, and then I think we'll close this off. How do you customize the help ribbon for different SharePoint roles? So visitor help would be different than members, or contributor help, or different than site owners, etc. Yeah, so within a help item, when you configure a help item, it could be a document, it could be a screenshot, it could be a video. You actually say within that which rights and which permissions is needed to be able to see that help item. Basically, you could do that within VisualSP. And as I mentioned before, if you reach out, here's my email address, asif@sharepointelearning.com. We can set something up for you, or at least show it to you. No pressure, but at least we can at least show you what's possible, so you know how this could help potentially mitigate end-user support issues by providing that help. All right, well, let's go ahead and officially close this out then. Thank you very much once again for everybody being here. Marshall, it's great doing this with you. Thank you very much.
Enjoy it. Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, and we definitely feel that this two-pronged approach, the lifecycle approach to training and support within SharePoint, can help take companies a long way to their goal of really taking advantage of SharePoint, the platform, which has been eluded many companies for many, many years now. So let us know if you can help. We really appreciate it. And have a great day.